And let me welcome back to the show Howard trained engineer. He has started a movement called ILoveBlackPeople.com, which is this generation's green book. Let me welcome back to the show Mr. Sinclair Skinner.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Karen, for having me out here. And you look beautiful, gorgeous on radio. So,
thank you. All true. Appreciate you. So, yeah. We've been talking off mic. I just had Mayor Gilbert on. Well, he's now county. What am I?
Commissioner.
Thank you, Tanya.
Commissioner.
The words are escaping. County Commissioner Gilbert, and we've been talking off mic because I believe healthcare is going to be a severe issue in the Black community post-COVID. During COVID, we saw so many disparities, and even before COVID, we weren't being listened to by doctors. People like Serena Williams had to advocate for herself, and others lost their lives because doctors weren't paying attention to our infant mortality rate. And healthcare is an issue. And so I'm like, how do we fix this? I had a doctor on a couple of years ago who talked about being trained in Cuba, and when she was in Cuba, just about every block had a doctor and a nurse who knew everybody's health issues and could go check in on Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so to see if they're taking their medicine. And Cuba's handling COVID right now in a way that we aren't. So I was like, can we duplicate that in our communities across the country in America? And I thought, I Love Black People. You have a space where we can go in and recommend doctors, right? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so definitely what you're saying about the urgency and how we can leverage this new normal for the betterment of our community. And one of those takeaways has to be that healthcare has to be in our hands. If we're thinking someone is going to save us, they're not coming. So now that we know that, we can leverage technology in ways that we might not have been before we had these supercomputers in our pockets and access to information. So as much as and amazing as the original Green Book was, again, which was very analog, and they really every year had to wait to update the previous version. We're able to do this in a more real time and give you the opportunity to, as you think of ideas of different favorite places that you've gone, you can recommend it and we can capture that information so it can be shared literally throughout the world. So again, to be able to amplify and magnify all of our efforts to build this safety net. And that's what we call it. We talk about networks, but these relationships, these are safety nets. So we're building our own safety net as it relates to healthcare. We have 8 categories with ILoveBlackPeople.com. We have finance, healthcare, legal, beauty, transportation, childcare / education, legal, and as well as education. So okay. We're using this as a way to create an environment so that no matter where you go, you don't have to worry about being racially profiled in these key critical areas.
And it's not just to highlight Black doctors or Black lawyers, even though that's the case, it's culturally responsive doctors. So if you have a good doctor, you should go on ILoveBlackPeople.com and let us know about it, because, we were just talking last week with Dr. Fitzhugh. We both lost our primary care doctors. Hers moved away. Mine, I decided I didn't want them anymore. So now I'm looking, but where do I go to trust, who to go to next? Of course, you can ask your friends, but there should be like the way we look for restaurants. You get 5 stars, 6, whatever. There's a place where we can go on Yelp to find out if this restaurant has bad reviews, but we need a space like that. And that's what you've created. So I went on your I Love Black People, and most of the doctors are international. So Tanya right now is in Panama. So if she's looking for a doctor, she might be able to go on ILoveBlackPeople.com and see a litany of doctors in Panama. But they're not a lot in the United States. So that means we have to fill it out.
Yes, I think, again, and some of this goes back to, you've been so good to us, Karen, you with the global majority. So again, I've been very narrow. I'm a Black, but your conversation though speaks to the fact that we want people who are interested in protecting us. And those people who are interested in protecting Black folks may not be Black. That's great. I mean, the Green Book, a lot of people, is a misnomer. They think it was a Black business directory. It wasn't. It literally was a way to make sure that we were safe. So it could be a white-owned business. It could be a Mongolian-owned business, as long as they didn't disrespect us or harm us. So what's key to what we're doing, our focus is the 1.5 billion people of African descent, making sure they're safe. So wherever we are, if we're in Thailand, if we're in Denmark, we want to know that there's a place that local Black communities say, hey, go here. It may not be Black owned, but look, this is, if you come here, we'll recommend this to you. And now you have access to that in a digital format. So if you go online, you type in your information. If you don't see your favorite place, please add it. Again, this is taking something we already do, as you mentioned, informally. If you come to DC, I'm going to recommend, Florida Avenue Grill. I'm going to recommend places that are Black friendly. But again, everybody don't know me, and a lot of people know of you, Karen, but they may not have access to you to get your input. So this is a way to capture that, and we can aggregate that, and we're the brains behind it. This is crowdsourcing. They try to use all those technical words, but it's just taking something we've always done, and we believe in community as a people.
So, go ahead.
Mr. Skinner, I heard you talking about how Bitcoin, and I'm assuming, so correct me if I'm wrong, that when you talk about Bitcoin, you're really using that like we use Xerox, and you're talking about cryptocurrency, period. Is that correct?
Yes, but I'm a person who believes that, there are certain applications that have been very successful, and Bitcoin is probably the most successful. And then two, in this space that I've been in it since 2012, I've seen a lot of scams. I've seen a lot of things come and hurt people. So I'm really kind of narrow with it. And as it relates to the power of cryptocurrency, I think we haven't even begun to scratch the surface. But when I'm talking about this technology, I really use it as an example of a tool, and the most popular and most prolific tool that we've seen be successful up to date is Bitcoin. But there's plenty of other applications that the blockchain can be used to store information in a way that can't be changed or duplicated. So there's a lot in blockchain in general.
Right. So I guess, what got me excited about what you were saying is that we as Black people can begin to give the value to these cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and then begin to do business with one another with cryptocurrencies and get ourselves off of this colonization capitalist dollar exchange. Am I getting you correctly?
Yeah, and one of the things we refer to as the Arusha Declaration by Julius Nyerere, and one of the points he made, he's a former president of Tanzania, and one of the things he said was that as long as we make the problem that we have money, we've allowed oftentimes our colonizers to control our solution. Let me say another way. Instead of saying I need money to eat, I just need to say I need to eat. And we're actually, as Black people, living in the most, fertile lands in the world. So we got to start defining our problems differently and not put ourselves back in this trick bag with this European. I see crypto is just a conduit. It's just a tool. And what's great about this tool is if you look at the dollar as like a car, it still needs, a credit card for it to work, a bank account for it to work, or it needs a check account. But with crypto, it's the car and the road, and it's all built in the same thing, and you don't need a third party. But the real value is us. Literally, when people talk about what's the value of Bitcoin, it's consensus, just like gold. Gold's just a rock. It's because we agree that it's worth something. But what's more precious than gold? Us. So the real thing that I learned in this journey, and it's been a journey, is that the real value is us. If we figure out ways to make the transaction, what Karen has given me, again, we probably got to talk equity sooner or later. We're gonna get there, Karen.
No, I don't want any equity.
Okay, great.
Own your stuff. You built it. Come on.
No. That's what I'm trying to say is the value that you give to me, I can't pay you back.
That's fine, but that should be the exchange, though. And we should all. I get it back in other ways. Like everybody's looking for a tit for tat, but that's not community. So whatever you get, God bless. I'm good.
I'm not going to use you as an example.
Don't do it, because I'm rejected.
Okay.
But I want to, because she's not being transactional with you. Go ahead.
But I'm trying to say is what I really discovered was that the real value are our relationships. It really took me out of transaction. It took me out of technology. Even this whole thing, I love Black. It really made me realize if you get the relationships right, we can do everything else. But if you don't get the relationship right, you can get the mechanics right, and this thing's still a buster. So you literally got to get into a position where you can have a free flow in this relationship. But you got to value us. If you don't respect us, like just what Karen just did to me. She's like, and she to the point, she said, no. So fine, yes, ma'am, okay. But my point is, That is what we need. We need that energy to be connected. And if we can use technology to facilitate, great. But don't lose sight. The real thing was Karen gave me that love. I can never, like she just said, don't pay it back. But the transaction of it using technology is the key. These dollar bills are silly. They're in the way. There's somebody preying on us. Oh, Karen got value. You got value. Ha 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 ha. I'm in the middle of y'all taking value from you. No, I don't need you. I can just interact with Karen. And now we have a digital way to exchange whatever, if we choose or whatever. Fine, but I don't need somebody rent seek. I don't need somebody telling me you can't do that, blocking me. Or saying that I don't like Karen, and even though she's such a great person to you, you can't use this dollar anymore. I don't need you. So that liberation in that, I'm sorry.
No. We have to go to break.
Me, it's like the benevolent societies.
It's like the benevolent
societies that we had to create after emancipation, because we had nothing. And so we had to get together and be the people who sat with the sick. And we had to put our pennies together to bury somebody. And it was us. We were investing in us to do everything we needed. And then when integration happened, we forgot about us.
The benevolent societies, and studying some of those, you're exactly right. And then you tie in communal Africa prior to us being colonized, prior to these kingdoms. And we literally did exchange like this.
So let's keep doing it. You know, they've done it before. Let's keep the baton passing along. Go to iloveblackpeople.com. If there's an area that you can help fill in and recommend, do so. We need the community to come together so that we can be safe everywhere. Thank you, Sinclair. Appreciate you. iloveblackpeople.com.
I love you. Look, I
we'll
love
be back.
You, Karen.
I love you too.